Yo, yo, yo. We outside Copenhagen. Man's like Avido here. It's from Kibera. We go. I'll say my name is David Avido. I'm a fashion designer, a community organizer, whereby I get to champion the things that happens around me. And my name Avido itself, it means just growing up and lifting each other to greatness. And for me, I'm sort of just trying to live that name. I'm not there yet, but as we say, we are on the move. I feel like in the world, we can't live without fashion in one way, because aside from just identities itself, fashion gives you the sense of belonging. So these seashells, these are inspired with my mom's tribe, where I come from, my mama's language. I'm like a Luo, and Luo people, we have lots of these shells because we are the lakeside people, and the shells sort of means the perseverance, the long distance relationship, whereby you don't know the quite of a distance that the shells took to be able to go to the offshore. So that's why we normally have these shells, because they remind us of where we come from and what culture we are, and where do we fall into life. Because I'll say for me, culture gives me a lot of self of belonging and identity, knowing that I'm from this ethnical group, and this is my great grandfathers, my great grandparents. It already gives you a start, and once this is how we were, so it puts you in a situation whereby if there's any trauma related to that, or maybe challenges that you face in life, before you are able to tackle them, you first have to know where you come from, where you belong from, and then after that, then now you can start defining which type of life you want to live. I'll give an example of maybe now you're going through some challenges in life, and you want maybe to go to to a therapist to talk about them. You cannot go to a therapist if you don't know what is actually troubling you. So at first you can say this is actually what I've been facing, and then from this one, now you're able to discuss and understand okay, now this is the life I'm gonna live. But there's also cultural stuff that do happen in different communities, whereby there's a culture of maybe people not speaking. So whereby if I have a challenge, I cannot express myself, where is that coming from? Maybe it is coming from my forefathers. They never used to do that. Do you want to break that norm and start a new thing for your next generation that is going to come, to be able to embrace it in a different way, so that it does not get into somebody's head to have an excuse that I cannot do this because our culture does not take that. Also in my community culture, let's say from Kenya, Kibera, there's a culture of people not being able maybe to speak about women health. How can I embrace that and say hey, I'm gonna break this culture to be in a position whereby I know I'm a son in this family, or maybe I'm a son in this community or this country, but I'm comfortable to speak about women health in a situation whereby I don't feel embarrassed about those kind of situations, because it's gonna help them understand that they matter in the community, and also it is gonna make them understand that their voice is heard in certain situations and stuff. I sort of try to turn my childhood trauma to be more of a weapon, whereby whenever I think about it, it scares me to the point whereby I don't want to be in that kind of situation again, nor would I be happy to be able to see other people going through that kind of situation. So that's why I sort of use fashion as a tool for me, as a form of expression. I went through a lot, because I first dropped out of school and was 11 years old. And dropping out of school when you are that young, in a situation whereby you don't know yourself yet, you don't understand the goals you need to have in life and the kind of life you want to live as an adult when you grow up, it was so much challenging. And being in that kind of situation felt into drug abuse, mental health problems. And most people, when they tend to fall in that kind of situation, it's always very harder for you to get back onto tracks. For me to speak about my trauma does not mean that I'm embarrassed about it. I can't change anything about it, but me accepting it helps me also to heal more over it. And then aside from that, also to inspire other people to get out of their comfort zone, or maybe to be stronger enough to be better version of themselves that they are wishing to be.
Your personal style was a vehicle or a car, what car would it be?
Oh yeah. When it comes to cars, I'll say what? I don't even know which cars yet because I don't know cars too much yet. But I'll say like I know shoes. So I'll say platforms, bold, very loud in front of people's eyes, kind of like intimidating in some ways if people doesn't understand why you're doing it, because you have to. I'm that kind of person who I normally say like you have to. You don't have to go and tell somebody like, hey, I want to tell you about myself, but my appearance itself can already start communicating to you and tell you like, okay, I want to know more about this guy. So I'll speak more about like the platform shoes, because cars or maybe tractors, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Actually, could you tell us the story about walking around in Copenhagen yesterday?
Yesterday was crazy. Yesterday when I decided to wear like pink, people normally say like pink is like, for girls or maybe like, female people. But I'm like, colors is just colors. There is no colors in the world that symbolizes that this person is supposed to wear it and this person is not supposed to wear it. It just depends on like how you feel. So I was trying to show people like, in case they were wondering how pink can they get, they can start from how I was yesterday. And I'm telling you like, after the whole day, I bet lots of people that were able like to see me, they are now trying to massage their necks because it was like a neck game. This culture, our cultures are just similar in a way. It's just that, in one way or the other, the only thing that sort of maybe like, differentiates us is the distance between each other. But if I was raised here in Denmark, definitely maybe I'll be speaking like, the languages here. And that is like the environment where you are is normally just what matters. And once you break barriers between those environments, then that's when we as human beings, we get to understand that we are not limited to anything. And we put ourselves in a situation whereby like we are willing to learn as long as we are able to learn, as long as we are willing to be able like, to learn. Like we are all same people under the same sun. Because sometimes, when you people will tell me like, I learned about maybe Kibera and where you come from CNN, and I'm like, when did you hear about Kibera? Then they'll be like, oh, it was during post-election violence in 2007. I'm like, so that is, I get to tell them like, this does not make Kibera to be Kibera, but what makes Kibera to be Kibera is like these people that are in Kibera. And why are they there? It's because these people like they are more of like a community. They live together because of like the artwork they do, the markets that are there, the food. All those are the cultures that brings them all together and makes them want to live in peace. But other than that, when it comes to like crime, drug abuse, and all the other things about politics and stuff, it can happen everywhere, but that does not make a community to be a community. Those are just challenges that are supposed to be faced as a group of people to be able to even like create like more stronger bonds, which is not supposed to be like a news for anything. So for me, like, culture itself, self of belonging, identity, and then the energy to be able like to face any other obstacle or any other cultures that people create out there.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem at all.
Thank
you too. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Yeah. The front camera is a GoPro, and that is what is recording me. In case you didn't know. Yo. Sorry. I snitched on the camera.